What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Another rendition of Studying Cinema with Cozy. Today, we will be discussing one of the most popular movies in black cinema history, one of Tupac's most famous movies, Omar Epps, one of his famous movies, and that is the movie of Juice. So Juice is about four best friends who grow up in New York and, grow up being rebels to, the everyday life of society, kind of skipping school and just, doing their own thing and living life as, young teenagers growing up in New York that just want to, go against the grain and just live life freely, I guess. Q, the main character, who is played by Omar Epps, is a DJ, a local DJ at this point, and he's trying to make a come up, entering competitions, and putting on shows here and there to kind of display his skills and to excel in his field. And you have Bishop, who is played by Tupac Shakur. He's the unpredictable one in the group, the one who you don't really know what to expect next from. And then you have Steele, who's kind of just, a good kid, funny, just there to continue to bring people together, make people laugh, and to just have a good time, nothing but positive energy. And then you have Raheem, who's just, basically the pretty boy of the group. And he has a child, baby mother, and his own situation going on. Mind you, all of these four black men are in high school still, and they all have their own personal things going on in life that they're juggling with as well, on top of dealing with people in their neighborhood, combating against them for whatever reason, whether it be people trying to rob them, gangs that have certain vendettas against them. There's everyday situations that you see within, the exposition of the film to kind of let you know the type of life that they have to live on an everyday basis. And as these four black men grow up, you see the influence that the world around them plays in their life. And in the beginning of the film, due to them skipping school, they end up going to, I think it was a restaurant or a shop or something, and somebody that they had known was robbing the place and had asked Q if he wanted in on it. Q, walked away from this and just went on about his business, but Bishop was kind of eager to see what could have happened if they had joined in and, helped him out. Basically, come to find out that friend ended up being shot and killed by the police. Tupac views this as a badge of honor, dying in an honorable way, being that he was a rebel to the society and, stuck to his guns and didn't necessarily fold on his plan. That attitude that Tupac has from that scene moving forward gets inflated when they come up with the idea to rob a corner store themselves. After they get a gun and, come up with a plan, the whole mood of the movie changes and it becomes a much more sinister film once they form the plan to rob the corner store. You can see how once the gun was in the hands of Tupac, his whole demeanor changed and he felt like he had the power, that he needed to kind of get the stain that he wanted. And the gun was basically, having the gun in his hands kind of unleashed the sinister side of him, the devilish side of him, and unlocked a certain personality that would be forever played out with the rest of the film. Once they rob the store, they're faced with Tupac killing the store owner and then ultimately killing Raheem after that. Those two scenes back to back and how fast they happen shows you exactly how fast one's mindset changes once they have the gun and that power in their hands, and what it would do to somebody when it's that easily accessible. Money, power, violence, all of those things put together creates a monster in the end. And by the end of the film, you have a version of Tupac who's hell bent on just causing pure destruction, and kind of loses sight along the way of what his whole purpose was, I guess, because in the beginning, when the affiliate dies robbing that store from the police, it was looked at as an honorable death from Tupac. And acts like that is what, allowed you to get juice, quote unquote. But the acts that Tupac was committing weren't necessarily acts to get him staying. It was just acts to make him more of a fearful man. Tupac looked at being an honorable man as being one that's feared by, the people that are around him, and having control over their actions and mind, and just playing the mental game of letting people know that he's better than them. Tupac's personal greed for power and control, I should say, causes him to just go on a rampage. He ends up shooting Steel, trying to kill Q, and it leads to him and Q having a face-off in the end, throughout the city. The movie itself sheds a lot of light on how his surroundings and one's environment can cater to them going down the dark path, or cater to them losing their life through foolishness, or through things that are out of their control. In the beginning, these were just kids that were trying to live their life freely, do what they do and just stay out of harm's way, but ended up getting in harm's way by trying to do too much in the end. Basically, just being influenced overall is kind of the main reason for certain characters losing their lives and certain situations playing out wrong in this movie. Tupac himself, who probably, does some of the best acting in this movie along with Omar Epps, his character is so mentally engulfed with, control and manipulation and literally draining the life out of others that he puts up a false persona when he's around certain people. In particular, after he kills Raheem, when he goes to his funeral, he's, tells Raheem's mother that, Raheem was one of his best friends and that he's very sorry for her loss and everything, despite the fact that he was the one that pulled the trigger in the end. And this type of act that we see Tupac commit in this film says a lot about his character, and says a lot about the mental state of his character when it comes to not necessarily caring about the people that are around him and just putting up a facade. And to think that you are friends with somebody that could all of a sudden, turn their whole character around based off of getting a gun and, having access to certain power. It says a lot. It says a lot about what, one is willing to let into their life. And it says a lot about, the other person and their, power of deception. You can never judge a book by its cover. And movies like this always throw it in your face that the closest one to you could be the one that could stab you in the back in the end. And these four brothers grew up together, knew each other for a long time, and even, spent quality time together in the moments when, they didn't need to. They would skip school together, spend the whole day at one of the homies' house, go to the arcade, fool around a little bit throughout the day, and, throughout all of it, you could see the camaraderie that they had as a friend group. But all of that camaraderie went out the window once the influence came into effect. And that influence was sparked by the first robbery that we see in this film. That robbery being tied to simply having staying in the community, money, power, respect, not having the certain attitude that nobody else is going to mess with me if I commit this crime or do this act and get away with it. That all of those things played a part into why Tupac wanted to do what he did. But ultimately, his goal had nothing to do with the physical plane. It had a lot to do with mentally taking over and bringing other people's spirits down to have control over their mental and have control over them in terms of just him being the one that caused fear within their soul. And they say it was all about just having juice or staying in the movie, but to a degree it is. On a physical level it is, and especially when it comes to the community, it is. People are notoriously known for things, around the way, and it says a lot about their character, and certain people base their respect for one off of those actions. It says a lot about the environment that we live in, It says a lot about how negative actions can be viewed as respect in certain communities, no matter who commits it and no matter the degree of the crime. Because at the end of the day, fear is what drives people to do, good or bad. And fear is what also allows one to control. And with fear comes little to no resistance. All of those layers on top of one another creates a monster, or creates somebody that ultimately has the juice and the power to do whatever they please. And those were the layers that Tupac was trying to break down in this film. Yet, to his demise, Omar Epps would not allow that. His character would not allow that. And often these movies, they have a lot of symbolism when it comes to Gemini effect, and how, two characters in a film are basically, mirror reflections of each other when it comes to personality, but their goals and outlook are, kind of different. And I feel like some of that plays a part in this film when it comes to Q and Bishop. Throughout the film, you see how they constantly butt heads on and off, and how Q's personality is a polar opposite of Bishop's. But it's that balance and the imbalance that causes the ripple effect of, their friendship to play out the way it did. In the end, there could only be one. And that showed in this movie. It's sad that Raheem had to be the one that got sacrificed by Tupac to really solidify Tupac's demeanor for the rest of the movie. His first kill at the corner store was a spark, but when he killed Raheem, that was the nail in the coffin in terms of who he was and what the true Bishop would be. This movie overall is a timeless movie, and a movie I feel like 10 years from now, 20 years from now will still be talked about, with the performance of Tupac and the performance of Omar Epps. It's really a classic movie, and obviously there are many lessons to be learned from this film. But overall, I feel like when it comes to this era of black films in general, it definitely is in the top 5. It definitely is in the top 5, and rightfully so. The message, the story, the writing, the acting, the atmosphere, everything about this movie fits perfectly and meshes well together. Even down to the side characters and the little altercations and situations that happen within this movie. Everything fits and everything flows together. It is honestly one of the better made movies from this era, I feel like, and will continue to be one of the movies that will be held in high regard from this era and just within black film and black cinema in general. And hopefully, we could continue to make more impactful films that fall in line with this one, and kind of, continue to push thought-provoking messages and positive messages along the way. I would like to thank you all for tuning in. Being that it's Black History Month, we're going to keep on pushing, and reviewing black movies, whether it be black directed, black produced, predominantly black actors, or, anything in between. I appreciate you all for tuning in. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, comment, stay in tune with the brand, support the brand in any way you can, and I will see you guys on the next video.